Hey everybody, welcome to another Foosh video review. This time we're taking a look at Hasbro's Transformers masterpiece, Toys R Us exclusive Sunstorm figure. And Sunstorm here is a curious release. Well, at the same time, he's a curious release and an obvious release. Curious because he is the very definition of a seared, even D-list character. In the G1 cartoon, and the masterpiece line does have this tendency to attempt to recreate G1 characters as closely as they appeared in the original cartoon as possible. Sunstorm appeared for 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 seconds in the very first episode of the G1 cartoon. So he didn't have a lot of presence in the series. He was just a background character, really, and he only appeared on Cybertron. He was in the background shooting at the Autobots when all heck was starting to break loose, just before the Autobots took off for Earth on the Ark. And when Starscream and Megatron took off after the Autobots, Starscream being the secret commander, he only brought along Thundercracker and Skywarp with him. So Sunstorm and the rest of his crew, who were called the Rainmakers, they stayed behind and fought the good fight on Cybertron. And we didn't really see much of them again. And then even in the comic books, the Marvel comic, he never really appeared. And the current IDW books, he has appeared, but again, he's just been a background character. So not a lot of development, not a lot of presence in Sunstorm, and that goes for all the Rainmakers. But he is a very handsome figure, which is one of the things that makes him an obvious release for the Masterpiece line, because he's a very easy repaint of the Seeker mold. This is the 4th time, I believe, we've seen this particular new Seeker mold used. It was first used on the Takara Starscream, then on the Hasbro Thundercracker, then on the Hasbro Acid Storm, and now we're seeing Sunstorm. So while a lot of fans are scratching their head as to why we're not getting someone like, say, Skywarp released on this mold, or having Starscream released domestically, I think it's kind of cool that we're getting someone like Sunstorm. I love seeing D-list characters get released in a line like Masterpiece, even though I know it's only because he's a very simple repaint. But at the same time, they could have easily released Skywarp too, but instead we got Sunstorm. And I'm pretty okay with that. He's kind of, it's a very unique deco for Sunstorm. The Takara version that came out a little over a year ago didn't quite look exactly like this. His lower legs are definitely, just the paint deco is unique to this particular mold. Actually, there's a lot here that's unique. His head, his hands, his forearms, a lot here is unique to the Hasbro mold. But the only part of it I think is kind of iffy is the lower leg, the red and the white. I'm warming up to it. When promo images first appeared, I was like, oh heck no, I'm not getting that thing, that's terrible. And the white hands, of course, it's just the Ronald McDonald comparisons are too easy here. It's too obvious a stab to take at Sunstorm. And I was curious about the brown, it looked like brown paint in the pictures for his cannon here, and his head, his helmet, and the landing gear down here. But having it in hand, it doesn't look brown so much as it does gold. And I think that's what they were going for with him, a gold helmet rather than brown. Let's get a close-up on his head here, because it really is kind of striking. I really like it. It's the first time we've seen the Seeker head sculpt released in something other than black. So, it looks really handsome in this color, I think. And I do think it's supposed to be gold. I think it is meant to be gold, not brown. It's just gold plastic is kind of tough. There was the GPS syndrome, the gold plastic syndrome that plagued the line for years. Gold plastic was something that just eventually crumbled to pieces over time. So I think he is supposed to be gold. And when I compare him to like Goldbug here, well, it's not quite the same. Goldbug is definitely more clearly a gold. But darn it, I think Sunstorm is supposed to be gold too. That's just how my eye wants to interpret it, because it makes sense. He's yellow, he's kind of representative of fire, so gold makes more sense than brown does to me, even though brown is more of a nice earth tone. So aside from the paint deco, there is absolutely nothing here that is new. It's a straight up repaint of Thundercracker and Acid Storm, the other two previous Toys R Us exclusives. Nothing at all is new here. He does come with the signature stand that actually has his name spelled and spelled correctly. as one word. I remember Thundercracker was split up into two words, like thunder and cracker, and that bugged me. I mean, how perfect. I'm talking about Thundercracker and I hear a motorcycle outside. That's just perfect. It's like I planned it. So that is nice to see Hasbro up their game there a little bit. Now what's curious, I mean, let's just do the turnaround here really quick, just so you can just get a look. The tail fins here are also white. It's all just yellow with some red trim. It is the same Seeker mold we have seen. Now his box is a little curious in that, let's put him off to the side here. If we compare the image of the figure with the actual figure, we see that this is the previous Seeker mold, the original MPO3, I believe it was, the first Starscream release. We can see like the scabbards here and the different feet and even the different head sculpt. So what is pictured on the box is not what we're getting with the figure. And I guess if you wanted to raise a stink with Hasbro or Toys R Us, maybe you could do that. But I can't imagine anybody disappointing or being disappointed in getting this Seeker mold as opposed to the older original one. Now, when it comes to his transformation process, and I don't think I'm going to go through it on video with you guys. I mean, if you've ever had a Masterpiece Seeker before, you know what the deal is. And he's big, and I have a feeling I'm never going to be able to keep the whole thing in the frame. But Acid Storm, last year's exclusive, that guy just, every time I tried to transform him, he just fell to pieces. So I thought it was just a case of mold degradation, and I assumed that by the time Sunstorm got here, it would be even worse. But Sunstorm feels way more stable than Acid Storm ever did. Sunstorm does not fall to pieces in my hands. And speaking of Sunstorm, you know what? Let's get him in the frame here too. Let's get the two of them together. They're both on their stands here. They're buddies. They're both Rainmakers. Maybe they're an interesting pair. They look kind of cool together. The Rainmakers, their general decos have always been kind of a little rough on the eye. So the fluorescent green with the very bright yellow, it's quite the combination. And I'm really curious to see if Hasbro's going to finish the trio, because I believe the third Rainmaker is Ice Storm, and I've seen some customs of him floating around online. He's kind of like a fluorescent blue. I'm really curious to see if Hasbro's going to finish it. And I'm also impressed here with Acid Storm. You see the Decepticon logo here. It's kind of like it's right side up. But the Seekers, with their wings and how the Decepticon logo should be displayed, it really should be upside down when they're in robot mode, like Sunstorm's is. That's correct. That's how it should be. So Acid Storm's is actually upside down. So I like that they made the effort to get it right with Sunstorm. And speaking of his wings, the flames, let's see if we can get those to show up on the camera, how well they come in. There's kind of like a metallic pattern. There, we can kind of see it a little better. Like that. Ooh, you can see it now for sure. There's like there's flames. It's like a metallic yellow paint on top of the yellow plastic that looks like yellow flames, and it looks really, really awesome. It's a nice subtle touch for Sunstorm. So, I mean, this is a figure I did not think I was going to pick up. If I really wanted Sunstorm, I would have just gone for the Takara release, like with every other Masterpiece that I own. But I didn't really want to pay Takara prices for him because he is such a D-list character. So I was curious to see what Hasbro was going to do, and I'm pretty happy with the Hasbro figure. I like the goldish brown head and the cannons and the other highlights. I think it looks pretty good. So let's take a look at his alt mode then. Okay, going to attempt the transformation here. Let's see how this goes. Of course, first thing we got to do is remove the stand. And we can straighten out his legs. I'm going to move this camera up a little bit so I don't lose it here. His feet, oops, let me get a better grip here. His feet flip around and cover up those things, and they can lock together like that. And this portion can just slide down. And that gives us kind of the tail end of the plane already. So now we just have to do the really hard part, which is up at the top here. Let's get his arms ready here. His hands can kind of, we gotta fold all the fingers so they're properly put away. I always kind of forget what they're supposed to do. I think if they're just out of the way enough like that, they'll be okay. There's so many little fiddly parts like this with him. Okay, then his entire torso kind of raises up like that. And then this entire contraption, the actual cone, can swing down and through. At least it's supposed to be able to do that. Whoops, something just came. Oh, his pilot just flew out. He comes with a little all-yellow Dr. Arkeville. I'm just going to put him to the side for now. That was interesting. That can come out. And then this thing is supposed to come through. There we go. Okay, and that forms the nose cone. Now his head has to clear through this little area. And hey, look at that. He did on the first try. Not too shabby. I'm pleased with how that happened. Let's see here. So those things can fold up. Those things fold over like that. His wings can come down. These can fold over and become whatever it is they become. Okay, so we're getting there. I'm being really quiet as I do this. This actually does take quite a bit of concentration to pull off. These masterpieces are not simple transformations. And his legs should... something fell off, darn it. There was a lot of force there. So I don't actually blame it for falling off. Oh, crud. Okay, not crud. That snaps in there. And that snaps in there. And oh my god, we're almost there. His wings just gotta fold in. And they do that. Oh gosh, I see how they're supposed to do that. Oh brother. I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit here. Okay. It just doesn't want to fit in there. There's a little peg right here that's supposed to peg into the wing, and it just don't want to. There we go, I got it. Now I got to repeat that process over here. Oh, joy. There we go. Much easier the second time. And then his null rays just have to... this is kind of a magic trick, figuring out the configure. Actually, I did that too soon, because these darn things gotta fold out. I'm actually kind of impressed I was able to get him transformed so easily. Okay, here he is. Let me get his stand here. And it's been so long since I attached his stand to his robot mode that I forget how it attaches. I think I see it. Okay, that's just not gonna happen. So we're gonna have to admire him just like this, and that's okay. So his alt mode looks just as pretty as his bot mode. I'm pleased with it, I'm happy with it. I think it is really sharp looking. And of course his little all yellow pilot guy can now be seated back in after he was so unceremoniously ejected. I may have spoken too soon here. There we go. Okay. So all yellow, flames on the wings, metallic flames, looks really pretty. The Decepticon logos are actually situated in the right pattern, the right way. And he looks really good from every angle. And the transformation wasn't too bad. Not too many, just one of these things popped off and that was it. So much better than what we've seen in the past. That's not a configuration. There we go. So that is Masterpiece Sunstorm. And I would recommend picking him up. I mean, unless you're a diehard fan of just the original 3 Seekers, and I know a lot of people only want the original 3, and maybe the Coneheads, but I think the Rainmakers have been kind of worth it so far, and I think Thunderstorm is leagues better than Acid Storm. I think he's worth the pickup if you can find them. These Masterpiece figures are really tough to get in my area, so I had to get this guy online because my stores just sell out 5 seconds after opening every morning. But I'm happy I got them. I'm pleased with them. And I think you might be pleasantly surprised too. Give the yellow a chance. Okay? So once again, that is Masterpiece Sunstorm. And this has been another Foosh review. So let us know what you think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.